Global IP Trust. Presence. Albert Einstein. Einstein was a figurehead leader in helping establish the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, which opened in 1925, and was among its first board of governors. He also submitted various suggestions as to its initial programs. Among those, he advised first creating an Institute of Agriculture, in order to settle the undeveloped land. That should be followed, he suggested, by a chemical institute, and an Institute of Microbiology, to fight the various ongoing epidemics such as malaria, which he called an evil, that was undermining a third of the country's development. Einstein was not a nationalist, he was against the creation of an independent Jewish state, which would be established as Israel, in 1948. Einstein felt that Jews could live alongside native Arabs in Palestine. As a result, Einstein was limited to a marginal role in the Zionist movement. Upon his death while in office, in November 1952, and at the urging of Israel Carlebach, Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion offered Einstein the position of President of Israel, a mostly ceremonial post. Einstein declined, and wrote in his response, that he was deeply moved, and at once saddened and ashamed, that he could not accept it. Einstein developed an appreciation for music at an early age. In his late journals he wrote, "If I were not a physicist, I would probably be a musician. I often think in music. I live my daydreams in music. I see my life in terms of music. I get most joy in life out of music." His mother played the piano reasonably well, and wanted her son to learn the violin. According to conductor Leon Botstein, Einstein began playing when he was 5. When he turned 13, he discovered the violin sonatas of Mozart, whereupon he became enamored of Mozart's compositions, and studied music more willingly. Einstein taught himself to play, without ever practicing systematically. He said that love is a better teacher than a sense of duty. At age 17, he was heard by a school examiner in Aarau, while playing Beethoven's violin sonatas. The examiner stated afterward, that his playing was remarkable, and revealing of great insight. Einstein displayed a deep love of the music, a quality that was, and remains in short supply. Music possessed an unusual meaning for this student. Music took on a pivotal and permanent role in Einstein's life, from that period on. Chamber music had become a regular part of his social life, while living in Bern, Zurich, and Berlin, where he played with Max Planck and his son, among others. In 1931, while engaged in research at the California Institute of Technology, he visited the Zoellner family conservatory in Los Angeles, where he played some of Beethoven and Mozart's works, with members of the Zoellner Quartet. Near the end of his life, when the young Juilliard Quartet visited him in Princeton, he played his violin with them, and the quartet was impressed by Einstein's level of coordination and intonation. In 1918, Einstein was one of the founding members of the German Democratic Party, a liberal party. However, later in his life, Einstein's political view was in favor of socialism, and critical of capitalism, which he detailed in his essays, such as Why Socialism? In 1925, he criticized the Bolsheviks for not having a well-regulated system of government, and called their rule a regime of terror and a tragedy in human history. He later adopted a more balanced view, criticizing their methods, but praising them, which is shown by his 1929 remark on Vladimir Lenin, in Lenin, I honor a man, who in total sacrifice of his own person, has committed his entire energy, to realizing social justice. I do not find his methods advisable. One thing is certain, however, men like him are the guardians and renewers of mankind's conscience. He strongly advocated the idea of a democratic global government that would check the power of nation-states in the framework of a world federation. Einstein was deeply impressed by Mahatma Gandhi, with whom he exchanged written letters. He described Gandhi as a role model for the generations to come. Einstein spoke of his spiritual outlook in a wide array of original writings and interviews. He did not believe in a personal God, who concerns himself with fates and actions of human beings, a view which he described as naive. He clarified, however, that he was not an atheist, preferring to call himself an agnostic, or a deeply religious non-believer. When asked if he believed in an afterlife, Einstein replied, "No. And one life is enough for me." Einstein was primarily affiliated with non-religious humanist and ethical culture groups in both the UK and US. He served on the advisory board of the First Humanist Society of New York and was an honorary associate of the Rationalist Association, which publishes New Humanist in Britain. On April 17, 1955, Einstein experienced internal bleeding, caused by the rupture of an abdominal aortic aneurysm, which had previously been reinforced surgically by Rudolf Nissen in 1948. He took the draft of a speech he was preparing for a television appearance, commemorating the State of Israel's 7th anniversary with him, to the hospital, but he did not live to complete it. Einstein refused surgery, saying, "I want to go when I want. It is tasteless to prolong life artificially. I have done my share, it is time to go. I will do it elegantly." He died in Princeton Hospital early the next morning, at the age of 76, having continued to work until near the end. During the autopsy, the pathologist of Princeton Hospital, Thomas Stoltz Harvey, removed Einstein's brain for preservation, without the permission of his family, in the hope that the neuroscience of the future would be able to discover what made Einstein so intelligent. Einstein's remains were cremated in Trenton, New Jersey, and his ashes were scattered at an undisclosed location. Einstein became one of the most famous scientific celebrities, beginning with the confirmation of his theory of general relativity, in 1919. Despite the general public having little understanding of his work, he was widely recognized, and received adulation and publicity. Einstein has been the subject of, or inspiration for many novels, films, plays, and works of music. He is a favorite model for depictions of absent-minded professors. His expressive face and distinctive hairstyle have been widely copied and exaggerated. Time magazine's Frederick Golden wrote that Einstein was a cartoonist's dream come true. Einstein received numerous awards and honors, and in 1922, he was awarded the 1921 Nobel Prize in Physics for his services to theoretical physics. Albert Einstein still remains one of the most intelligent people to have ever lived. His understanding of physics is the base for a major portion of recent discoveries and inventions. He has been a role model for many of the great thinkers after him. In more than one ways, Albert Einstein helped shape the world we know today. In his own words, "Learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is not to stop questioning." Thank you for watching our series on Albert Einstein. If you enjoyed this documentary series, and want to explore more geniuses, leave a comment below on who you think helped in shaping our world. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.